Okay, good afternoon. The name of the following panel is A Case for Military Neutrality in the 21st Century. And my name is Igor Novakovic, and it is indeed a great pleasure to be here today and to have a chance to discuss this important topic with our esteemed panelists. As you probably saw on the website, our panelists today are Chiefs of General Staff of both Serbia and Austria, General Robert Briger and General Milan Mojsilovic. First, I will just quickly outline how the panel will proceed. Both panelists will have 10 minutes for their opening statements. After that, we will follow the questions and answers part, both from the floor and from the public. And I would also like to inform you that we will have a consecutive translation from English to Serbian. And now I will abuse my role as a moderator of this panel and say just a few sentences about the phenomenon we are discussing. Neutrality is an old concept, which was also institutionalized in the international law. Some states namely pursue their security but by not aligning themselves with other countries in the area of defense, with an aim, of course, to avoid any potential future conflict. There are different modalities of neutrality, but in essence, it could be narrowed to following during the time of peace, of course. Neutral countries are obliged to stay out of the binding mutual defense alliances. They are obliged to control their territory, and they are obliged to prohibit existence of foreign military bases in their territory. But many claim that with the rise of new security threats, with the globalization, that this concept is becoming obsolete. But this was claimed even before, 50 years ago, for example, and still some states sought to observe it. Some had more success than the others. So the status was treated differently over different time periods. For example, from the mid-19th century until the beginning of the 20th century, it was perceived as a highly useful position of states that actually prevented spreading out wars. Then it was considered as highly immoral position just after the World War II. And then in 1970s and 1980s, neutral states were perceived as peace brokers and good services providers. And then also UN recognized the existence of neutrality, although in the beginning there was some friction because people perceived that neutrality is not really in line with the principles of collective security. But then we had neutral Austria in 1955 entering the UN. We had Turkmenistan in 1995, which was to which permanent neutrality was recognized in 1995 by the resolution of the UN General Assembly. And then just 2 years ago, we even got the International Neutrality Day, that's 12th of December, which was proclaimed by the resolution 71-275. Neutral states exist within the EU. They participate in the common foreign and security policy and in common security and defense policy. And due to the EU membership, some member states decided to dub it as a military neutrality or military non-alignment. So my question to our panelists is what does neutrality or military neutrality mean today for your states, and what are the practical implications for it today in the 21st century? General Mojsilovic.
Okay. Dobar dan svima. Ja bih na početku želeo da se zahvalim na pozivu i na mogućnost da učestvujem u ovom panelu. Naravno i da vam poželim uspeha u realizaciji bezbednosnog foruma, da sve one ciljeve koje ste definisali i postavili ispred sebe i ostvarite u naredna 2-3 dana.
So first of all, hello everyone. I would like to thank you for the invitation and also for the possibility to participate in this forum. I also wish you a successful forum, and I would also wish you that you really accomplish and that you attain the goals that you set for the Belgrade Security Forum in the next couple of days.
Vi ste, Igore, u uvodnom delu već dotakli segment koji se odnosi da neutralnost označava pravni i politički odnos među državama, ne samo u miru, nego i u ratu.
You already mentioned in the introductory part, and you touched upon this segment, that military neutrality is basically a legal but also a political relationship of various countries, both at peace but also in peace, but at war as well.
I u tom kontekstu neutralne države prihvatanjem statusa neutralnosti prihvataju poznate obaveze i načine ponašanja u međunarodnoj zajednici.
And in that respect, all neutrally or militarily neutral countries, they accept the norms and the standards that are prescribed by the international community.
I ako uzmemo u obzir da su osnovne odlike neutralnosti, nepristrasnost i uzdržavanje, nepristrasnost i uzdržavanje, ako su to osnovne odlike neutralnosti.
So if we take that the main traits or the main characteristics of military neutrality are being unbiased and to actually refrain from any action.
Neutralna država bi trebala da se ponaša jednako prema svim stranama.
So a neutral country or a neutral state should then, in this respect, treat all other countries in the same manner.
U vreme mira neutralne države nastoje da izbjegnu prihvatanje svih obaveza koje nisu u saglasnosti sa pravom neutralnosti.
So at times of peace, a militarily neutral country would not take upon itself any commitments that are not in line with political or military neutrality.
Republika Srbija je jedina država na Balkanu koja se formalno opredelila za vojnu neutralnost.
The Republic of Serbia is the only country in the Balkans that has decided to assume and to take this concept of military neutrality.
Takvo opredeljenje posljedica istorijskih okolnosti i izraz političkog stava koji je zasnovan na procjeni da Republika Srbija ima veće izglede u međunarodnim odnosima za realizaciju njenih nacionalnih interesa.
This commitment can be ascribed to, or basically is based on historical circumstances, but also the political attitude of our country, which means that we can pursue our interests, our national interests, without being militarily not neutral. So.
Posebno napominjem činjenicu da je odnos međunarodne zajednice prema pitanju Kosova i Metohije od ključnog uticaja na orijentaciju celog društva, te shodno tome i na proklamovanu neutralnost.
So I would also like to point out that the attitude of the international community towards the question of Kosovo also in a way orientates and directs the very attitude to military neutrality.
Sa druge strane, u današnjem međuzavisnom svetu malo je bezbednosnih pretnji koje se odnose samo na jednu određenu nacionalnu bezbednost.
However, on the other hand, living in a world of today, there are not too many security threats that are only connected to one aspect or one threat in a country.
I sad kad uzmete da definišete određene pretnje kao što je organizovani kriminal, terorizam, proliferacija oružja, trgovina ljudima, koje su široko rasprostranjene, a za njihovu prevenciju i suzbijanje potrebno je uložiti više napora i obezbediti mnogo više finansijskih i ljudskih resursa.
If you consider various threats which are widespread worldwide, like organized crime, the proliferation of arms, human trafficking, then all of these threats call for various actions in order to prevent these activities by investing a lot of efforts, a lot of financial resources as well as human resources.
Ovo napominjem iz prostog razloga što je svrsishodno da se u bezbednosni problemi podele sa globalnom zajednicom kako bi se putem kooperativnog pristupa pružio adekvatan odgovor na savremene bezbednosne pretnje ili izazove.
I'm saying this because the effectiveness of our activities in order to prevent security threats nowadays relies heavily on cooperation and close cooperation with the international communities in order to be able to tackle the challenges and the threats that are present in today's world.
Smatram da politika vojne neutralnosti ne predstavlja smetnju za razvijanje sveobuhvatne, svestrane vojne saradnje sa drugim subjektima međunarodnih odnosa.
I also believe that military neutrality is by no means any threat to our cooperation, our widespread cooperation with other military stakeholders in the world.
Iako je Republika Srbija vojno neutralna država, ona nastoji da iz dana u dan stvara i unapređuje partnerske odnose u oblasti bezbednosti i odbrane sa državama širom sveta i međunarodnim organizacijama. Pri čemu aktivno učestvujemo u zajedničkim aktivnostima od Ujedinjenih nacija, OEBS-a, Evropske unije, u okviru partnerstva za mir, što je dokaz. Evo, danas je u Srbiji na zvaničan moj poziv i način Generalštaba Austrije.
So the Republic of Serbia, despite its military neutrality, also has strong partnership with other international organizations in taking various activities in the field. So we cooperate closely with the organizations such as OSCE, the European Union and the United Nations, and also we are closely cooperating and being part of the Partnership for Peace. And one of the reasons why I'm mentioning this is actually the fact that my colleague, distinguished Chief of Defense Staff of the Austrian Ministry, Robert Brigger, is here with us today.
Međunarodna vojna saradnja za nas predstavlja snažan instrument promovisanja reformskih procesa u Ministarstvu odbrane i Vojsci Srbije, značajnu podršku spoljnoj politici Republike Srbije, kao i važan činilac izgradnje sigurnog i stabilnog strategijskog okruženja.
Military cooperation is perceived as a very important instrument for, first of all, the armed forces of Serbia and its functioning, as well as for our foreign affairs and of our country, and also it is a means to achieve a more secure and a stable environment.
Ja bih sad predao reč mom kolegi iz Austrije.
I would now like to give the floor to my colleague, my distinguished colleague from Austria.
Nadam se da ću biti možda malo jasniji u drugom delu ovog panela.
And I hope that I will also be given the opportunity to maybe elaborate on some of my answers in the second part of the panel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. General Brigger.
Thank you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, with great pleasure I have accepted the invitation to address you today. It's a great honor for me to portray also some key elements regarding the Austrian engagement on the Western Balkans. Referring to the introduction for this event, on the event's homepage, I have to admit I'm impressed by the phrase, "From Istanbul to Vienna, Belgrade Security Forum presents the most relevant event where key actors meet and discuss foreign affairs and security policy in Balkans and Europe." In particular, the wording "from Istanbul to Vienna" clearly indicates that Austria is considered having a role in contributing to the development of a security community in the Balkan region, as well as providing a meaningful contribution to the ongoing European and global security discussion. Please be assured that Austria, as a real friend of all Western Balkan partners, will be further dedicated to support strongly cooperative regional processes as far as it is possible and welcomed. The title chosen from this year's conference, Striving for Justice in a Divided World, appears to be more valid than ever before. Globally seen, large fault lines have occurred in the political, economic and societal era. Therefore, it's of utmost importance that we as a global community return to the reconciliation of interests, mutual respect, and a cooperative behavior. In the regional context of the Western Balkans, these challenges mean that we have to develop the semi-consolidated situation in a fully consolidated one. This will only be possible if win-win solutions can be achieved for open political issues that are still burdened by conflicts which prevent that the Western Balkans develops its potential in the best possible way. The same applies to our commitment to a credible and substantial EU enlargement policy. Bearing in mind that Austria has always been concerned with keeping the Western Balkans high on the EU agenda, I would like to take this opportunity to emphasize some specific projects and ideas developed in common by Austria and our partners in the Western Balkans. In the context of the EU presidency 2018, the integration of the Western Balkans into the EU and the resilience of our Western Balkan partners was also of key importance and therefore one of our centers of gravity. In my political assessment, we must not neglect the European commitment and must decisively counteract negative developments and trends. On the one hand, this strategy should enable the Western Balkan countries to solve their own security tasks in their countries and to improve their resilience in view of new hybrid risks. On the other hand, they should even more become security providers and make active contributions to the CSDP. Until then, Austria remains a reliable contributor to the peace support operations that are conducted by EUFOR and KFOR. Permit me in this context also to thank Serbia for participating 2020 in an EU battle group, which is a great commitment. We must not allow a vacuum in our neighborhood and thus deliver the Western Balkans to the influence of external actors. If we do not export security, we will inevitably import uncertainty. There are many challenges in this regard where Europe better stands united, and Serbia is a big and important partner in this endeavor. The defense ministers of the EU member states have agreed to intensify military capacity building based on a new strategic dialogue with the Western Balkan countries. I believe that solid foundations have already been set up to support Western Balkans in terms of security and defense policy. It is now time to put these ideas and concepts into action. The essential steps will be the involvement of the Western Balkans in EU missions, the strengthening of border management capabilities and hybrid threat protection capabilities, the improvement of regional disaster relief, and a wide range of bilateral and regional training activities. I'm fully aware of the migration situation in the Western Balkans, and we know it is not improving, and the ongoing migration pressure is standing upwards. Protecting the external borders of our partners on the Western Balkans is an ongoing challenge and has to be handled in close cooperation between our countries and the EU. In particular, along the border between Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, humanitarian and security problems have increased as a consequence of the still critical migration situation here. Since 1999, the Austrian Ministry of Defense, through the National Defense Academy and the Directorate for Security Policy, and with the support of regional partners, has coordinated an academic study group in the scope of the PFP consortium. This study group has continuously analyzed relevant developments in Southeast Europe and has issued recommendations for improvements. More than 500 researchers, civil servants, representatives from the security sector and NGOs from Southeast Europe until now have provided substantial contributions to the workshops. I'm sure that some of them are also present here in this valuable conference. Austria aims to contribute to the development of a common European military culture and the development of an officer generation that defends national and European values in equal measure, thereby enhancing regional stability in the Western Balkans. I will continue to ensure that the policy and activities identified and agreed upon by the Ministers of Defense of Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Northern Macedonia, Serbia and Austria at the Graz meeting in autumn 2018 will be implemented with most effectivity and efficiency. These goals will be realized within the bilateral and regional cooperation programs in the best possible way in order to best assist our Western Balkans partner in the pre-accession process to the EU. Finally, I would like to stress that we share many security challenges which demand coordinated and individual action amongst partners. By working together, we are able to address these challenges more effectively in order to ensure a safer future for our next generations. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, General. And now let's move to questions and answers. So first, I would like to ask you, General Brieger, regarding you come from a country which has been neutral for more than now 60 years. You proclaimed your neutrality in 1955, and you passed in this status throughout the Cold War, but then you entered the EU. So how much is different the concept of neutrality of your state now from the one that you had during the Cold War and before the accession to the EU?
Well, the concept of the Austrian neutrality was modeled after World War II and after the 10 years of occupation in the post-war area. And it was a means to regain sovereignty for Austria. And it was developed, I think, in the way to establish an active neutrality policy, also allowing Austria to participate in the United Nations, in the EU framework, and in many partnership activities. So from this standpoint, I would say it was a successful model, although as a chief of defense, I would admit that more military resources would be necessary for an effective protection of our neutrality.
Okay. General Mojsilovic, I would like to ask you, how do you see military neutrality, primarily as political concept or defense military concept, or something in between?
Let me save the time, if you allowed me to speak. First of all, I mentioned it's much better to speak in Serbian because we are in Belgrade. So this is the reason why I started speaking Serbian. But when I saw in this panel, we just left 20 minutes. So let me at the same time, and my excuse to you. I'm not so sure that you're familiar that Serbian parliament decided to take a resolution in 2007. That was the idea to actually to take the political decision according with the territorial protection of the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Republic of Serbia. In some bullets in this resolution, the parliament decided to be military neutral. This decision actually was some kind of measure to not allow the Serbia to be a part of some collective alliance or a organization. So if we discuss about this resolution, which is the first actually time in Serbia that we face it with the political decision which lead us to the military neutrality, they came up of measures against the collective and other security participation or to be a part of some organization or alliance. I'm not so sure that we can put the equal mark between the political and military neutrality, because if I discuss about the actual intention of the can I say the will of the Serbian people here, that they actually don't want to be a part of not only the NATO, that the CSTO and other organization, we can actually say that the political actual neutrality and or independence, whatever, and the military neutrality is not the same, and there is no obstacles if I want to cooperate with somebody that directly influence or actually destroy the position of Serbia, which means that we do something against the military neutrality. We do not discuss at the moment, actually, not at the moment, but there is no serious discussion about in the Serbian armed forces to be a part of the NATO, to be a part of the CSTO, to be a part of some institution. Even that we have a strategical will or strategical goals to be a part of the EU. The EU, as you know, this more than ever, it's a political actual environment or area, except the chapter which covered the common security defense policy. When you enter inside the common security defense policy, there is no some huge and biggest, can I say, needs to be a part of this, can I say, elements inside the EU. Absolutely, I am sure that not only the measures, standards, and other criteria inside to the EU, but also to be a part of the family, you should actually share the same value. This is the actually elements when we discuss about the EU. But if you put myself in a position to say, okay, I try to be out of the NATO, try to be out of the CSTO and other, there is no obstacles not to cooperate. Because when I sit in my chair, this is the Serbian one, I try to get the best options about the standards and other things which we want to achieve inside of the Serbian Armed Forces. I mean, when I speak the Serbian Armed Forces, I mean the MOD as the whole security system in Serbia. More than ever, we try to actually establish measures, not only measures, but also the instruments and mechanisms which dedicated to the regional and global security. This is the reason why we are part of the EU operation. This is the reason why we are part of the European Union military operations, because we think that we can share the same value and have a benefit from this participation if you discuss about the foreign policy goals. Which my participation out of the Serbia under the United Nations and under the EU umbrella just gave this country capacity to strengthen the foreign policy goals. I'm pretty sure that this our dedication to the military neutrality doesn't actually not put the obstacles for the my cooperation with everybody. In that case, to be totally reliable and credible partners. The PFP framework is not like belongs to the PFP countries, but also put you in a status that you are in a case to choose elements, to choose mechanism, to choose the actually formats when you see and actually decide to get benefit from this cooperation. Even to put me, to be totally honest, I think that the Serbia have a unique and specific relation between the NATO. It means the Serbia is a PFP country, and same times we cooperate with the NATO on the field. This is our cooperation with the KFOR. Nobody have this. Cooperation between the NATO and PFP countries on the field. This is actually came from the MTA and the Resolution 1244. And this is the unique. This is not the obstacles. Do we still military neutrality. Yes, if you look at the resolution coming from the 2007, you know we are not a part of NATO. Do we want to be a part of the EU? Yes, this is the strategic goals. And in front of us, I'm sorry, okay. In front of us, we have a time. Yes, we will be the part of the battle group the next years. But Robert told you, when you inside the battle groups, you always have a space to intervene according with the political will of this country. So yes, you can be in the battle group, but in the end, if you want to engage, if you want to use this battle group, if the political side said no, we are still want to be out of the some clashes and other things, you have a mechanism to say no, I am get out. I'm sorry.
No. It's okay. I just want to pose a question which is in line with what you already said. Two Nordic EU states, Finland and Sweden, often say that they would not remain passive if some of the EU countries, especially from their neighborhood, is under attack. And then there is an article in the Lisbon Treaty 42.7 which is called Mutual Assistance Clause, and the major part of that text was imported from the Western European Union, which was Common Defense Alliance. So in that sense, with these statements from Finland and Sweden, and with the fact that we have this clause in the EU treaty, do you think that military neutrality would be possible if there is an attack on some of the EU member states?
Well, you know, there is for neutral and non-allied countries in principle the possibility of opting out with this Irish cause. This is written down in the treaty. Besides the political aspects and the security aspects, is also a question of moral. From the basic neutrality rule Austria is obliged to, we have three obligations: not to start a war, not to allow military installations, permanent military installations in our country, and not to be part of a military alliance. Our interpretation of neutrality is in that way that we interpret that participation on common security and foreign policy within the EU framework is possible. So as long as there is the possibility of opting out and of a national self-determination, it should be not in contradiction with military neutrality.
So, thank you. We still have 9 more minutes. So I would give the floor to you if you have any questions, and then we can move on. Please, any questions? Oh, there is one.
Thank you. Katarina Đokić, Belgrade Center for Security Policy. I have a question first for General Briga. Where does security of supply stand in Austria as a policy priority? And for board generals, do you think that security of supply in case of neutral countries is feasible nowadays? Thank you.
The question was the grade of priority security has in Austria.
Security of supply. Versorgungssicherheit.
Okay. This is a problem we have faced nowadays after the Cold War. It was not in our mindset that blackout and hybrid threats and things like that could occur, could be a challenge for us. And so we have to learn now that this security of supply is a topic, And to be open, we just restart the measures and the activation of these challenges. So we have to regain some sort of resilience within the military and also within the society. But many resources have been given up during the phase after the Cold War, so there is a lot to do in this field.
We have a question here.
Thank you, Igor Tabak, a defense analyst from Zagreb, Croatia. I would want to ask both of chiefs, with the development of the European Union, with the defense being even more prominent and ever more prominent now, what would be the limits of your neutrality of both your countries? I mean, is it just the opting out? Or, I mean, seeing that the EU gives more and more emphasis on the defense side as such?
Well, I think the EU and EU defense and security policy is a developing process. And the more the EU gains military integration, the more the role of neutrality has to be discussed, and our politicians, our decision makers, have to decide whether to adopt or strictly gain this neutrality operations we have now.
Let me just go back for the Katarina just a little bit. I think the military neutrality is not the cheapest options, because they put me in a situation to cover all capability which you need to have to fulfill your missions according with the constitutions and other laws which cover your main and base the positions. And at the moment we try to not only to focus on the supply, the security, but also in the domain of the operation capability, which links to the capacity, the personnel, the other things. We are, if I discuss about Serbia, we are totally in a different positions, because the example for us, if we look to Austria, makes me and put me in a situation to confirm our dedication to be a military neutral. It's possible to be military neutral at the moment, even that the goals is to be a part of the European family, including the other countries, which is not only the Austria, but the Swiss and Finland, Even if you calculate and actually compare the activities, you will see that the other countries, they much more actually took the position to be an advanced partner. It means they share the according with the NATO different positions, but still they have possibility to decide on inside of the country, do they want to be a part or not? This is actually the case, and I think that's absolutely military neutrality is not the. We can say this is the old concept, but according with the time, there is some changes, modulations, and other things which put today that we totally different look on not only on the security but whole elements which surround to us. Much more you need to have some kind of comprehensive and a cooperative approach than usually. But this is not directly implement that you change your military positions. I don't know if I scratch all, but this is my opinion about this. Thank you.
Any other question? Okay, we have it here. Probably this would be the last because we have only 2.5 minutes. Where is the microphone? Okay.
Thank you for your generous contribution. I'm Colonel Lavoie, Defense Attaché from Canada. I'm wondering about the notion of smart defense. There's not many countries on the planet that could afford anymore to ensure their own security, at least countries that have less than 100 million people in terms of population. Years ago, developing a jet or a fighter, a tank, or a ship was something that was well within the possibility of a nation. Nowadays, if you look at the latest generation of armament, these projects could take 20, 30 years to develop and cost billions. So I'm sure that it raises a challenge because by limiting cooperation in the area of supply, certainly this is very challenging both financially, and I would be curious to see how you see that for the future. But also if you think, and I would take comments going beyond procurement, because if you think of all the challenge that bring globalization, protecting faraway sea lines of communications or of transportation, cyber threats that are multinational and transnational, clearly there's threat to every nation that by far originates from far away and require very strong, robust cooperation to deal with. So I would be very appreciative to have your comments on these challenges.
In my opinion, neutrality is no contradiction to sharing of resources, of military resources, and in different partnership systems, you have the opportunity to share not only concepts and military culture, but you can find in a partnership format ways to avoid duplications and to find economic way to use military resources. I think this is not a contradiction in principle.
I'm sure it's the same opinion. Honestly speaking, we saw that in the past. If we discuss about the migration crisis and other things, we share a lot of things, not only material, but info and standards and behaviors even in the area of the operations. And there is no obstacles about this, you know. Absolutely, I'm sure that you mean about the smart defense, the pooling and sharing and other things, but just, you know, sometimes it's always issue for the discussions, you know. Why, for example, some country decide to be a pure NATO, not, but at the same time they also the EU members, but they don't want to share the defense policy. It means, which is the example for the Denmark. They decide to not be in a common security defense policy, but the member of the EU, and they strongly support the NATO activity. Some countries decide to have a different approach. It means, you know, much more to push the EU side and smallest in the NATO side. And today, yes, I mentioned to Katerina, this is not the cheapest options, you know, because if I see my needs, I need to have whole scales about the operation capability, from to protect the airspace in a sovereignty manners, you know, through the capability to fulfill the all missions which coming from the concept. But in the same time, we do not have obstacles because we are military neutral to cooperate together, you know. If we have floods, if we have a fire scene inside, we calling each other. Even the Austrian, they help us a lot in 2014 when Serbia faced it with the catastrophe inside the country, with the floods and with the actually elementary disaster.
I'm sure that we could continue like this for another hour at least. 2 more minutes? Or what? No. You have a question. I'm sorry, we are out of the time.
Just question, please. Please, okay.
I have to ask organizers. So,
okay, question. Question for the guest. Okay, can you tell me your opinion about European Army? And question for the host. How expensive is to be neutral? Everybody, and you also, said it is expensive, not cheapest one. Is there any percent? 10, 15, 20? Thanks.
Question was?
How much expensive is neutrality, to be neutral? Yeah?
European Army. European Army can be a concept for future European nations have to decide on. At the moment, I cannot see any realization of a European army. We are on the way to integrate European defense systems, but not to build a European army. I cannot predict what's in place in 50 years. Maybe European Union develops to United Nations of Europe. Nobody knows. It's one future, you know. There are several futures in place. Every analyst will see in this way. So European army for the moment is not a realistic concept. For future, who knows?
Depends of the budget. Yeah, this is the price of the military neutrality. Of course, we need to increase because we need to cover a lot of things. But I once again I wanted to underline that Serbia is a totally different position. Actually, we spend our money to revitalize the Air Force air defense system at the moment, because in the past we're in a very bad situation and status. We're going up, and this is the case why we spend much more money to buy something and to have a capability to protect and to fulfill all those things which we already discussed, you know. I'm not so sure precisely do I need to have a 2.2, 2.1, because, you know, economically you cannot divide security and economy. It depends a lot. You know, you cannot have a good economy without the stable and good security. And opposite, you know, there is no good security without the good economy. So if we go up, I'm happy, because much more money will become to my budget, and from that I will covered all those ambitions. According with the long defense planning, actually, term, this is the 10 years from today. This is the idea, to cover all. So, and my colleagues from the NATO, they need to have obligation to be a 2.0, you know. So depends of the economy in each different countries. So doesn't mean 1.6, this is the good. Depends of the economy.
Okay, thank you very much. Generals, thank you for your contribution. Thank you in the public, and we shall move to the next panel. Thank you.